name is Jennifer, and welcome to my TBR video for the Summerween Readathon and the Tarot Readathon. I'm excited to share the books I'm going to be reading this month, so I'm just going to jump right into this. So starting off with the Summerween Readathon, this is one that's hosted by Olivia Reads a Latte and Gabby Reads. It's thematically kind of meant for reading spooky books during the summer months when you might not normally be reading those types of books. As you can see, I kind of enjoy the Halloween aesthetic, so I'm excited to jump into some of these books. Since this is only a week-long readathon that starts today, I'm only picking 2 books just because I have some other things going on. I'm not quite sure how much I'll actually be able to get through in a week, so I don't want to put too much on my plate, and since some of the prompts can kind of double up for multiple books, I'm just going to go with that. So the first prompt in this challenge is to read in the dark, so I'm probably just going to do that right here. This is my very comfortable reading seat. In the evening it does get very dark in this room, so I'll probably just turn on a book light, maybe a candle here in my little lantern, and just read whatever book I happen to be on at that moment. And the nice thing about this challenge, it's something that doesn't have to all be done in one day, so I can kind of do it throughout the week. And I tend to read in this chair at night a lot anyway, so it should be a good fit for me. The second prompt is to read a paranormal book, and for that I have chosen Dread Nation. Now this is a book, I'll show you the cover there. I picked this up in 2018 but never got around to reading it. The premise is that it's set in alternative American history after the Civil War. The blurb says that the young woman the book is about was born the day after the dead started to rise at Gettysburg. So basically what's happening in this book is there are zombies in post-Civil War America, and children of color are sent to like re-education schools and trained to fight the zombies. And so this young woman Jane is in training to be a zombie fighter, and she's trained specifically to become an attendant so that she can work for some of the wealthier members of American society. So it's not only a zombie paranormal novel, it's also kind of a look at issues of race in America, which is something that I am interested in. I am a museum professional and a student of history, so understanding those issues is very important to me, and I think that this sort of take on those issues should be interesting. And also, with it having those paranormal elements, should also be very entertaining. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. The second prompt is to read a horror book. So for that, I have selected Mexican Gothic, which I actually got this in my Book of the Month box last year. It was a July 2020 book. I originally thought I would hold on to it and read it in the fall, and then again, just never got around to it, so now seems like the perfect time to read it. This is a take on the Gothic horror genre. It's about a young woman who gets a letter from her cousin who is recently married, a man from England, and they live in this villa estate home in Mexico that the cousin has written saying that terrible things are happening at the house. So the protagonist goes to investigate that, and that's really about as far as I know about the plot. I know that she starts getting like some horrific visions about terrible things that are happening at the house. I have heard that it gets kind of bloody and gory, which is not my favorite type of horror, but I can handle it much better in a book than I can with a movie. I do not like slasher gory horror movies. I'd much rather watch a haunted house movie or a psychological horror movie, so I'm still looking forward to reading this one. I'm always interested in reading something that's kind of like a fresh take on a genre or a trope, so this sort of fresh take on the Gothic horror genre sounds very interesting to me. Hello, editing Jennifer here. So first of all, sorry again for the noises that my dog is making in the background of this video. I didn't realize that she was close enough to my phone for the microphone to pick up the sound of her chewing on her bone as much as it did. So apologies that is probably very distracting, but I don't think at this point I'm going to go back and refilm because I'm trying to get this video out by the end of the day. So just sorry about that. Hopefully it's not too awful. I'm trying to fix it, but just given the fact that I was using my phone and not a better microphone, there's only so much I can do to control the audio quality there. So yeah, sorry again. Second thing, while I'm editing this, I realized that I left out two of the prompts from the Summerween Readathon challenge. There's two more prompts. The first of which is to read a book with Halloween colors on the cover, and I think I'm gonna just stick with Mexican Gothic for that. So it has the green and the purple. I know right now it's looking kind of red, but it comes up kind of purple when you see the book in person. And I know like black and orange are the traditional Halloween colors, but green and purple together are kind of the secondary Halloween colors. So I think this qualifies. If I have time, I might see if I have another book at home that has more explicitly Halloween colors on the cover, but for now I'm happy to just use this. And it's such a beautiful cover, isn't it? I love it. I want to dress like this one. I love it so much. The second prompt that I left off is to bake or make a drink to go with your spooky read, and I'm very excited to do that. I love baking, I love cooking, and I think I'm going to make something to go with Mexican Gothic. I actually just started reading Dread Nation with my breakfast this morning, but I don't really know what sort of food I could make thematically to go along with it, but I'm thinking I might make some Mexican hot chocolate to drink while I'm reading Mexican Gothic, even though July in Iowa is pretty hot. I probably don't need hot chocolate, but Mexican hot chocolate is just so good. And I think it really, helps bring those fall kind of spooky autumnal vibes to be drinking hot chocolate while reading. So that's my plan for that. Thanks for indulging me in this little editing interlude. We will now go back to the main video. Thanks. All right, so the next readathon that I want to talk about is the Tarot Readathon. And this one has 4 different hosts, but I'm participating on the team that's hosted by Noelle of Noelle's Second Pages, which is Team Pentacles. Each of the teams in this readathon, it's based on the suits of a tarot card, or tarot deck. So I chose Team Pentacles because one of the team themes or restrictions is that you can only read books that you already own, or you could go to the library if necessary. But I have a pretty big backlog of books that I've purchased and haven't read yet. I just kind of like to accumulate books, and I don't read quite as quickly as I like to, especially because I do a lot of community theater, not necessarily now over this last year and a half, but generally I'm usually working full time and then in rehearsal for 3 to 4 hours a night, so it can make it kind of difficult to keep up with free reading. But right now I'm not working full time. I'm actually getting ready to start library science school in the fall, so this month seems like a perfect time to get some extra reading in. So the way that the Tarot Readathon works is that you take your tarot deck or use a tarot card generator to pull some cards. I decided to pull 3. And then the hosts have made prompts to go along with each of the cards. So then you use the cards that you pulled to align them with the prompt, and then you pick your books that way. So I used, in honor of my Summerween theme here, I used my Halloween tarot deck, which is this super cute little tarot deck with these lovely illustrations. Some of them like this, and here you can see some of them, like for the major arcana cards are based off of famous movie monsters, and then the suits are all Halloween themed as well. So I already drew my cards. Like I said, I drew 3, so I'm just going to cut here to some footage of that so that you can see the cards that I drew. The prompt for the first card I pulled, the Wheel of Fortune, is to read a book with the Destined to Be Together trope. I think typically this would relate more to a romance novel, but usually when I read a romance novel, I do it on an audiobook that I check out from the library through my Libby app, so I don't actually have that many romance novels sitting around the house at the moment. So a book that I did find in the house that I think could potentially relate to this prompt, hopefully, is this new book that I got from Book of the Month last year called Half Sick of Shadows. This is a feminist retelling of the story of the Lady of Shalott, which is, I honestly don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly because I've actually only read that word. Oops. But this is a feminist retelling of the tale of the Lady of Shalott, which is one of the Arthurian legends, which I actually encountered for the first time reading A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray, which I loved that book and that series when I was in high school. So if you've ever read it and loved it, I am right there with you. At some point, I actually want to reread. Oh, hello! This is Luna. She's joining us, apparently. Anyway, the protagonist of this book, she can see the future and she knows the fates that her friends will follow. And I know there is some getting together of various characters throughout the book, so I'm assuming there will be some involvement of them being fated to be together. So it might not necessarily be in the most romantic ways, since a lot of the things that the protagonist foresees in this book are tragedies. I think it should still kind of follow the prompt, and I think it's the book that I have at the house that is most closely tied to the themes of fate and destiny that are related to the Wheel of Fortune card. So we're going to give this one a go. Cards. Okay, found them. Luna was sitting on the cards. So then I have the Page of Bats, which in the Halloween Tarot deck, the Bats suit corresponds to swords. So the Page of Swords prompt for the readathon is to read a book about books, which this is one I actually have several around the house that work for this prompt. So the book that I have chosen to read is The Readers of Broken Wheel Recommend. I don't remember when I bought this one. I picked it up at one of the local bookstores. It's a book about a small town in Iowa, which is perfect for me because I grew up in a small town in Iowa and I understand that setting very well. It's about a woman who travels from Sweden to meet her pen pal. They've been writing to each other about the books that they love. But when she arrives in the small town, she discovers that her pen pal's funeral has just taken place, but she decides to stay in the town of Broken Wheel and set up a bookstore. And then she interacts with the members of the town. You know, it's a small, struggling Midwestern town, like so many towns in the Midwest are, and she kind of revives the community with your bookstore. So I'm looking forward to this one as well. I think it has a lot of things that are in my wheelhouse, and should be a fun, cute read, good summer read. Looking forward to it. All right, and then finally, third card I drew was the Ten of Bats, which again is the Ten of Swords for this deck. And the prompt for this one was to read a murder mystery or a book featuring a murder. So I also don't really own a whole lot of like straight genre mystery books around the house, but I did have this book, The Perfect Nanny, which again I bought a while ago and didn't get to. But this one is based on a real life case that happened in France where a nanny murdered the children that she was in charge of taking care of. And so from page 1 of this book, you know that at least one of the kids is dead, and then it's kind of just about the unraveling of the relationship that the nanny has with the family. But it's a very hard one to get through because it's obviously very heavy material. I suppose I probably should have mentioned trigger warning for if you have a hard time reading books that are about harm to children. This one is probably not a good one for you to pick up. I have heard it's very good and thought-provoking though, so as much as it seems weird to say, I'm looking forward to reading a book with those themes. I am looking forward to reading this one. So again, that is The Perfect Nanny. And that seems like kind of a heavy note to end on, but those are the books I'm planning on reading this month for Summerween and the Tarot Readathon. I'm also interested in trying to do the Jane Austen July reading challenge, but with these other 2 readathons, I'm not sure if I will get to it or not. So if I do, I'll film a wrap-up video or maybe do a vlog partway through the month showing you what I'm reading for that. So I hope you enjoyed this. I know it was probably a little rambly, not the most exciting thing. This is the first video that I'm putting out there on YouTube, so thanks for watching. And I suppose if you want to see more of this, go ahead and subscribe. I am planning on eventually doing some more like scripted video essay kind of content. As I mentioned, I'm really into history, and I would like to do some videos about literary history, especially women in literary history. And I'd also like to do some videos about my experience in my library science program, you know, for anyone who was interested in maybe applying to library school or wants to know what that's like. You can kind of follow along with me as I'm starting the program. So I'm gonna sign off here and go make myself some breakfast and then edit this and get it up. So I hope you have a nice day. Bye.